Okay, so our next speaker is Marwan Nimr, here to talk to us about social media crisis. Please welcome Marwan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Since we're in Lebanon, bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Saraha, very beautiful country, I have to say. First time to be here, and definitely not going to be the last. I'm Egyptian, so I really enjoyed Lebanon so far. My name is Marwan. I'm the commercial director for social media digital innovative agency, headquarters back in Dubai. And we manage social media marketing, monitoring, and analysis for a large group of government organizations and commercial organizations too. Today, I'm honored to be here. Thank you, ArabNet, for inviting us to come and speak at this very interesting summit. I'm going to talk mainly about social media crisis management. I'll try to base my presentation mainly over things that actually happen, that we have actually faced during managing some of our clients. So we try to base our information or insights on active figures that we have actually seen. So what is a social media crisis? It's an issue arises or amplified by social media. Usually it happens by one user and it gets amplified and taken over a very different stage later on. And why usually it happens? Because lack of planning and preparedness by organizations. They do not set any social media crisis documents. They are more eager to be on social media platforms before setting any plans or controls. I would like to share some interesting facts that we have gathered through our work with organizations, that actually 50% of customer tweets to companies are being ignored. And through another study that we have done, we found that 73 or 74% of social media users tend to post negative issues online rather than posting positive issues. Whether they want to be recognized, they want people to hear them, they want people to address them, they want people to answer them. It's always a matter that they want to share negative issues only. 57% of people talk to people more online than they do in real life. And this is what social media has provided us at this era, that it's a two-way communication tool where people tend to speak to each other freely. Everybody can expose his point of view. It's a free tool. Everything is being said, so people can easily say whatever they want to say at any time. Every 60 seconds on Facebook, I believe you know those figures, they are increasing every single day. 80% of users, they prefer to connect with brands on Facebook. But the problem is there's a huge percentage of Facebook posts that are not answered online. If you go on random any pages, there are people who ask questions and they're not answered to. And that makes consumers a bit frustrated. 76% of social media crisis could have been avoided with proper planning and internal investment. When I say internal investment, it's not only about whether doing it in-house or hiring an agency to do the page moderation, community management, etc., but more for tools that are used for preventing social media crisis. So 3 main common triggers of social media crisis. The biggest, of course, is by the organization's customers. Any customer can vent online very easily if there's anything that he's not happy for. So just a very live example, I drive a Subaru, and it's not really many people drive that. And it's been a very, very long time I do so. One time I had an issue with Subaru, and I just went there and said I have an issue with my brake pads, you guys have to fix it. They did not do it, and it took like a couple of months. I just went online and I just posted that, Subaru, this is really humiliating what you do. I mean, I've been with you guys for 11 years. Not many people drive Subaru. Exactly after 25 minutes, I got a reply from the team saying, we're sorry, we acknowledge, and we would like to help you. And automatically things were fixed. I believe this was something very good done by the brand, that they acknowledged me right away and they fixed my problem. Second common trigger is the organization itself. Whether it's a wrong reply, a wrong post, a wrong comment, something said in a matter or in a manner that is not appropriate, that leads to a crisis. I'll give you a very quick example without mentioning names. 3 weeks ago, one big organization in the UAE posted a Friday dua or a Friday prayer, and it was mentioned in a wrong way. People consumed it in a wrong manner. Hence, they have created a huge campaign on this organization that this is wrong what they're doing, and it went more into religious matters and sectarian affairs, and it was really, really very bad. 13% left, which are by opposing stakeholders, and usually those situations, they are caused deliberately and initiated by NGOs in most times. Top 10 causes, of course, the first is the negative customer experiences. This is the main cause of any social media crisis. Then we have violations of ethical guidelines, inappropriate content, just like I mentioned, rogue employees, failure to respond quickly or to acknowledge the consumers. With all our work with brands, we believe that even if we do not have the right answer at the right time, we need to acknowledge the consumer by telling him, thank you for addressing your issue or concern or complaint or whatever. We will get back to you. So the first phase is acknowledging the consumer or acknowledging the user. If he has a problem, that we're here, we have heard you, and we will come back to you. Violation of legal guidelines with 4%, security breach, inappropriate responses, or responses that actually do not make sense. So if I'm having a problem and somebody asks me something, responds back to something that does not make sense, then that's definitely going to make me upset. Community censorship, lack of fact-checking, all are causes. Now, how to detect a crisis ahead of time? I believe the best thing is predictive analysis. Organizations should have a strong social media listening tool. Monitoring and analysis need to be done to avoid social media crisis. And this is usually done by tools. There are many tools, whether free tools or tools such as Engager, SM2, Hootsuite, Systemis, Meltwater, Radiant 6. There's plenty of tools that you can find or purchase. But I believe the most important thing for big organizations that they put a daily alert to their monitoring and analysis. Usually daily alerts are spread, and it's different between a brand and another. So for example, we are working with Emirates Airlines or with Etisalat or ITA. We provide them on a daily basis with all negative and actionable comments that happen on the social media platforms. And they classify the comments whether by medium, by high, medium, or low priority. And each set of the priorities, they have a specific target that we send the emails to. So for example, the VP of communication and SVP of marketing, for example, they get the high alerts or anything that's actionable that they need to take immediate action to prevent the crisis. So I believe a predictive analysis framework is one of the most important elements in preventing a crisis. Second thing is setting a crisis life cycle, and that helps for early warning and advise people of what to do, when to do. So usually it's 4 phases, not more than that from our experience. Phase 0 usually is a negative customer experience. This is where it all starts from. Then phase 1, the customer starts to vent online. He starts to write 1 tweet after a second, after a third, because nobody's answering him. Third phase, or phase 2 as written, is either poor or no brand response. So either they ignore him or they respond something that is it doesn't make any sense. Phase 3, customer and friends start to attack, people start to see, a hashtag starts to come, and then the crisis happens, and it goes viral in, I believe, 10 minutes, depending on the subject matter itself. Managing a social media crisis, 6 main phases. I'll try to go very quickly through each because we don't have really much time. The first one is setting a threshold for crisis mode and set guidelines. Guidelines for the tone and guidelines for the articulation. What would you have within your crisis communication plan? What are you going to say? Who is the official spokesperson that will be elected to discuss this issue? And it's usually preferably that organizations choose different spokespersons for different or specific matters. So if there's something that has to do, for example, with technical issues, there is somebody who has to respond to that. Something has to do more with issues related to employees, or for example, in the UAE, we have sometimes crises that happen for organizations about Emiratization, that they don't hire Emiratis. So there has to be somebody from the HR or the Emiratization manager to speak about this issue, to address the consumers properly. Second is acknowledging the situation. I believe the best practice is not to immediately admit that this is a fault or this is a mistake, because sometimes it might not be a mistake, or sometimes it's coming from a competitor. So I believe it's always proper to publicly recognize that there are people working on this, they're gathering information, and we will come back to you. So you have to acknowledge that there is a situation, whether you want to admit it right away, or you should wait a little bit until you gather the information that is needed. 3 is activating brand advocates or key influencers or brand ambassadors, whatever it is that they call. And I believe my colleagues have discussed key influencers, but one part very important nowadays in key influencers is that we do not measure the key influencers by the number of followers that they have, but more of the reach, of the influence of this key influencer or ambassador. A very good example I like usually to say when I do any presentations or conferences is that if, for example, Osama bin Laden is alive today and he decides to open a Twitter handle, I believe most of us here would follow him. But that does not mean that he's going to influence me or influence you to go and strap a bomb and explode myself. So this is the difference between a proper brand ambassador or a key influencer, rather than someone who has 1 million of fans and he doesn't have a really influence on those people or a reach. And that's something that we really work hard on when we come and run an advocacy program for any of our clients. 3 is establishing an information hub, which is mainly used to diffuse the social media conversations outside of the social media ecosystem. So whether it is you will have like a hub that you would put FAQs, customers would go and read that. You want to do a separate tab. I mean, you would need to understand that this is very important to take this online. I mean, not online, take it off Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and try to divert it somewhere else where it's less shown for users. 4 is offering a space for reaction. People still will want to show their frustrations, show their anger, and they will continue to be angry, will continue to say more about their experience, because usually it's negative, and they will start to make more hashtags. I believe the best place for this is to open like a comment section or a bulletin board on either a microsite or your own site, which will let people understand more about the issue and how are you going to solve it? How is this going to be of use to them on a later stage? 5, document your response. I believe the best thing to manage a good social media is to document your response. So that means, I mean, if you have to change something in your business, you'll have to document that. You'll have to let people know, and they'll have to let people aware of this. I put a very good example here of Domino's Pizza, where they implemented a pizza tracker system, and that would offer people to know more what happens with their pizza when it starts to, when you do the delivery, when you do, the order, what happens, the food techniques, the handling of it, delivering it to your home. So people are now seeing what's happening with your order as soon as you do it. And that helped a lot to decrease or take away of any negative sentiment that happens on the pages. Last thing is be authentic. So if it's not your fault, then organizations should use a consistent brand voice to ensure that you do not really appear to be defensive, or you're trying not to be apologetic for any reason, but you have to be authentic. You have to mention that there was a mistake, and we apologize for this mistake, and we were working hard to fix any issues or any problems. I put another example here for Citibank. they actually were accused of posting a lot of videos online that were edited for a dramatic impact. People did not really like that. There are many crises on social media. There are many case studies, many examples. I listed one here, case study at the end, which I believe was very strong, which was the Carrefour in Saudi Arabia. So eventually what happened is a consumer was purchasing cucumbers at Carrefour, Saudi Arabia, and then he was flipping the bag, and then he found that it's rotten. So immediately, one of the employees of Carrefour, he saw this, and then he grabbed it, took it away from him, and started to have a conversation. They started to have a fight. Luckily enough, there was one guy standing who filmed everything and put it on YouTube. People started to go online, they started to talk, they started to create a hashtag, boycott Carrefour, and eventually it created a huge amount. I think I mentioned, yes, 350,000 views in 3 days. This is really crazy. I mean, and until now, I believe it would be more than 500,000 of views. And what happened? Carrefour gave out like amendment saying that, well, actually this is very sad, such news. This is done by people by haters who want to see us fail. So that was really a very weak response, which created in more negative conversations, negative sentiment, and the crisis itself have evolved. I believe, unfortunately, my time somehow finished, but I would love to answer any questions, and if you would like to have this presentation, maybe it's with the organizers at ArabNet. I thank you very much, and I really hope I added at least one thing new to your knowledge. Okay, now the embarrassing part now, the questions and answers.
I think you should never delete a comment by any client or a person. But what if he or she are trolls?
He or she are what? I'm sorry?
Trolling.
اوكي لانه بس
sorry, the what?
بدي
Trolling.
في فيديو بده يلعب
Trolling.
بس ليكون
Well,
يسمع الصوت.
I believe I did not really say to
please.
delete
Just be on the safe
a
side.
message, but the only reason that you should delete a message if you wrote something. Okay, I'll give you a very good example. One other organization in the UAE, the social media manager who was doing the Twitter or tweets, he wanted to tweet something, but he thought that he is on his own social media, not on the organization. So he tweeted something political, like I don't know about specific country or a channel or whatever. And that was posted on the page. People started to take a screenshot of it and started to post it. This had to be immediately taken away because that would cause problems between countries. Specifically when it comes to political or religious reasons, I believe the best thing is to delete and acknowledge that this is a mistake done.
And actually, if someone is commenting on a post you had, but he's just being rude, he's not
Okay.
trying to help.
Okay.
Do you delete that?
No,
the loop rooms,
yes, and
case
I'll tell you
studies
how.
مسمينها.
On Facebook, I'm
just
sorry,
the loop, yeah,
there's a
it's not
tab
just
that
the
we
Facebook.
call house rules. In those house rules, any organization should have a proper Facebook tab with proper house rules, saying that if you are offensive, if you use rude languages, if you use bad manners, your post will be deleted. So when we do this and we delete and he comes and attacks us again, we have a proof that this is what you've done, this is the house rules that you did not abide with, so we have deleted it. So we always have a backup plan. Oh, he has a question, and I would love to go.
Thank you for your presentation. Usually we put rules for the freedom of speech on social media. And why wouldn't we put rules on that regarding country or governmental rules? Knowing the Arab Spring started with that.
Because
الو
this is a very good question. Because you cannot control it. You cannot control what would people will say, what they want to say, and when are they going to say it. Especially when it comes to politics. I believe 85% of the Egyptian population are now into politics. And I could be one of them, actually. Suddenly we are, political maniacs, and we want to post anything about the opposing regime or whatever it is. فيلا عرف الميدان مفتوح اكتبوا اللي انتوا عايزينه. which
أنا ما قلتش حاجة.
أنا اللي
انتظار
بقول
ربع ساعة.
I
انتظار
mean,
ربع ساعة.
it's wrong, but in such cases, specifically when you're working with government organizations, you have to be very careful. Yani, I believe we manage 4 to 5 big governmental organizations in the UAE, and to manage this is really hard.
شفت بقى؟
هو عايز ايه عشان السياسة وكده؟ لا ما كانش سياسة.
طب ممكن the government put rules on that or لا؟ I
They,
think
they would put definitely the same as I mentioned in the house rules,
ممكن ال
but more or
government
less
تحط
for
rules
a
ولا لا؟
governmental organization perspective. And for example, in the UAE, we have something called the Regulatory Authority of Telecommunications. They set those rules for organizations that want to be on social media. So the Prime Minister's Office of the United Arab Emirates Media Department, they have those guidelines that they distribute to all government organizations. What to do, what not to do, guidelines, policies, etc., to be on social media. So you have to have, and there are other guidelines for employees working in the government organizations. So if you're working, for example, in the Ministry of Interior, and you're going to post this on your Facebook or Twitter profile, as I work in, then there are things that you can say and things that you cannot say. You cannot engage with people and speak on behalf of the organization. You cannot go and defend the organization by saying this and this and this. So there are specific guidelines that have to be clearly written and documented. Is it okay to answer? خلاص? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
شفت
Yeah.
يلا بالإذن.